Hey, the camera stops working. Isn't there a way for you to like stop it from doing that? To be like, dear camera.
Well, it's a limitation of the thing, really. It's a bit of an issue.
Is it a software problem or a hardware problem? Lay it on me.
It's a user problem.
Oh boy. Hard to fix those, am I right?
You're right. You are right, and we have now begun.
Oh.
Yeah, I figured. The cadence changed a little bit there. I picked
The
up
music
on.
We went
changed.
into our professional podcasting voice.
Yeah, we're different people now that the camera is rolling.
Camera's on.
That's
Mics are
rolling.
live.
That's live. We have a guest for the first time in
20 years.
Oh my gosh.
goodness gracious, it's been too long since we've had a guest.
20 dog years. Mice years.
20 mouse years it's been, and that is the equivalent to at least a year. More than a year. We had no one in 2020 as a guest, and
2020 was a difficult time.
and we barely did it
Wow.
then.
That's what I heard. I heard
Yeah.
2020 was hard for some people.
Did you hear about this 2020 thing?
I did. I mean,
There were people buying toilet paper, and then anyway, and now here we are. Welcome to Mission Stories, everyone. This is a podcast. We talk about various things. It started as with Mission Stories, and then now it's become kind of whatever. We have a special guest on the podcast, Cindy Russell. Welcome.
thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
How are you doing? First of all,
Today or in general?
let's go with
Let's start with
In general.
recent.
okay.
Recently.
Right, that makes more sense.
How's today?
Today's great. I'm well. It's really hot. That's not awesome.
Yeah. Do you think it's global warming?
I do.
Oh man.
I honestly do.
Oh, here we go.
I think it's climate change. I do think it is climate change. I can't, in living
Oh,
memory,
man.
I can't remember it being this hot.
I
at the
can't
beginning of
remember a
June.
June
Hey,
where
I'm
it got
older
to
than both of
28
you.
degrees.
What's that?
I'm older than both of you.
That's true.
By like 7 years.
Yeah.
I was gonna say months.
Yeah, she was talking about
I
X-Files
did
before
not.
we started
Okay,
recording.
okay.
Like X-Files.
Do we,
Addendum.
do we talk
addendum.
about how old you are, or do we?
Yeah,
is it-
that's fine.
It's impolite.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm 36.
We're 38.
Like my liver's 38.
Yeah, I believe that with those big gulps.
Hey, tell her what you told me about the need to buy the big gulp instead of the regular size one.
I did tell her, but I'll tell the listeners.
Tell everyone.
Since I'm also a shill for 7-Eleven. This podcast brought to you by 7-Eleven Canada.
Canada. If it squirts.
Open
it hurts.
24/7. The super big gulps are the same price as a regular big gulp.
Yeah.
And I'm like, a super big gulp's unwieldy. I just need a nice cool beverage to battle this heat wave. But also as a economics major, that's just pure utility right there.
At an accredited university.
I would be a fool to not take the super big gulp, even if I just pour the extra on the ground.
But I feel like if it's fountain pop, it's not like you can save it for later, right?
Well,
if it
you-
was juice, I could see, because you could like split it up and put it in the fridge and save it for later.
Well, pop becomes juice
Ugh,
over time.
syrup water.
Diet Coke is
Ugh.
health juice. It was made by doctors
Yeah.
and sold in pharmacies.
It's a
health
pharmaceutical
tonic.
medicine.
Yeah.
It's
Come
not
on,
called Dr.
Cindy.
Pepper by accident.
Aspartame.
Yeah.
Beautiful word.
That's a chemical word.
science.
And science reigns supreme.
Anyways, what were we talking about?
We
Big
were talking about
gulps?
how
Big
you're
gulps.
doing.
Oh, my liver.
Not you.
My liver's been destroyed by Coke Zero.
Like, let's get back to my liver.
Because my liver's 38, but Cindy's 36.
I'm 36. Yeah.
And a
that's where we
young
were.
36, a young looking 36.
Oh.
at that.
Sprightly.
Okay.
Sprightly. You know what? 30s is your new 20s.
Yeah. In maturity and in society.
And in just progress, life
Yep.
progress.
Life progress. You look around, like I
Yeah.
walk around my neighborhood all the time, and I look at these houses, and I'll see people my age, like working in the
Yeah.
yard, and I'm like, I'm a garbage person.
Yeah. And then I literally pick up their garbage.
Yeah, I
'Cause it
would.
is my job.
Well, and their garbage is better than it's better than my garbage. So.
You can find a lot of good stuff in rich people's
You
garbage.
can.
You'd be lucky to get
Honestly,
their garbage.
If you ever need furniture, just cruise down the alleys of Calgary. You'll
Yeah.
find lamps and chairs and
Totally.
actually, if you ever have a fire, like you ever get together with a bunch of buddies for a fire,
Yeah.
you can find pallets everywhere.
Yeah.
Just go grab some pallets, burn them up.
Just burn up a
You
pallet.
can't burn pallets with today's lumber.
I was
That's-
I was gonna say, I'm like, you might want to hold on to that wood actually.
Cheaper
Yeah,
to just
it's
burn
crazy.
gasoline.
We're not going to be able to burn anything.
Just a barrel full
They're
of diesel.
You guys ever
Burn
notice you can't burn anything these days?
Condors and
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
I don't know.
Can't even burn anything.
Can't even burn anything anymore. Sorry. So you're doing okay. You're 36. You're healthy.
Did
You're
we
well.
Did we figure out how you're doing today? Just
We-
that you're hot.
We
Just that
interrupt
it's hot.
people.
yeah, that happens a lot.
It's our
It's
thing.
okay.
It's our shtick.
You've got big personalities.
No, not me. I'm just a shy guy.
Me too.
Oh.
Until you give us a mic.
And then we go crazy.
I'm seeing that.
Okay, so we've
No,
covered
things
how
are
you're
good.
doing today.
Yep. Life is good.
It's hot.
It's hot. I've got me and my dog. Life
have
is
a
good.
dog?
Oh
I do
yeah,
have a
you have a
dog.
very
That's
nice
got to
dog.
be a new development.
Actually, I've had her for 5 years.
Never mind. Well, it's the first I've heard
Old
of it.
dog.
She's a very sweet dog. She's atypical. She doesn't bark. She doesn't jump up on you. She doesn't lick you. She doesn't chew things. She's just
a good
a
dog.
very boring dog. But
Perfect.
yeah, she's great.
We love dog stories here on this podcast.
See, and that's the thing. There aren't any with her. She's so boring. She's so boring. Yeah,
I love a good doggy. What's her name?
Tracy.
A human name.
Trick name Tracy.
Okay. Okay.
Well, the reason was because when I got her, so Liz Lemon from 30 Rock is my spirit animal.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I had a cat at the time named Jenna, and so I got a dog named Tracy.
Oh, the Tracy Morgan Show. Yes. That's so.
Do you guys, are you
Cool.
not 30 Rock people?
I am. I've seen the whole thing.
Okay. You're not?
These are
Okay,
these references mean nothing.
This
to
is
me.
a topic of conversation I wanted to have with you guys. I want to talk TV. What
Mhm.
do you watch? Like what are your go-tos? Do you watch the same series over and over?
No. Well, a little bit. I've seen a few series. A couple. I think I've been through The Office twice.
Yeah.
I've been through Breaking Bad at least twice. Mad Men, I've been through once fully, and I've started it a few times. I haven't gone
My
a full
goodness.
distance with that one.
Okay.
What about you, Lyndon?
Well,
And Don Draper.
see, 30 Rock is like network television.
But it's not.
And
It's
I'm
really good.
And
though.
I'm a millennial, so I only have streaming services. So
It's on Crave.
It's on Crave and Prime.
Hey,
it's on Prime?
And it's not live or like it's not on anymore. It ended in 2013.
I suppose I could watch it on the Prime, which I share an account with someone else.
I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
Or not.
I might
First,
not.
I mean, I think
Or
with
you'd
any
hate it.
series, the first season isn't a good indicator of the rest of the series
Mm.
because they're all just trying to figure,
Why is that?
I think it's because
Like,
they're
what's
trying to settle into who their characters are and how they want to
Yeah.
play them, and even I think the writers are trying to figure out, which characters do we put together in stories, which who plays off of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best first season of a show? Who did it write the first season?
Oh, Dexter.
Twin Peaks.
What is that?
Oh my gosh, you guys. See, this is the thing, okay? I'll admit I'm older than both of you, but these shows, I didn't grow up watching these shows. I have picked these up in my adult years
Yeah.
because I'd heard about them. I was too young at the time when they were out, but then I picked them up again. Twin Peaks is messed up, but the first season is so good. I highly recommend it to
Who
It's
everyone.
does
got-
it?
but it's
What's
like
Twin
a-
Peaks. You
it's-
know what Twin Peaks
Here's
is.
the thing. Twin Peaks, I would not even throw in this. This
Discussion?
I'm talking about shows I think MASH had a really good first season.
Okay, you're talking like comedy, like
I'm talking
sitcoms or-
a show that lasted at least 5 seasons.
Okay.
Twin Peaks I see as sort of this it's a limited
niche.
series, you
Yeah.
know. I think it was one season and then it was a second season years and years later.
2 seasons, and then they picked it up 25 years later, and the new season is unwatchable in my opinion.
Really bad.
Well, David Lynch he's a very He's an odd man.
Divisive, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay, comedy show that has a solid first season.
I'd say
Arrested Development.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arrested
Let's
Development.
not talk about, what was it, season 4 or 5?
I like 4.
I did. I know people don't like the new seasons, but I did.
I like 4. 5 is worse than 4 somehow.
Is
I
5 the
think.
Netflix season?
They were both Netflix
4 and 5 are Netflix.
seasons. Yeah.
Okay.
But when 4 originally came out, they had the episodes in different order. But
Yeah.
because people got so frustrated with trying to keep track of what timelines, they actually rearranged them in order on Netflix so that
Yeah.
they were easier to understand.
That's
Yeah.
only
Track.
fair.
I think they made them a little bit better in that recut that they did in preparation for the 5th season.
Yeah.
But that 5th season, I don't know what it was about it, but it was just not funny. Just like it's like they forgot how to write comedy.
Well, that's another good question then. What are the worst seasons of TV series?
It's often the first season, right?
Yeah.
Or like the last seasons. There's like a I don't even know. So it's like it's bad in the beginning, and then it's good for as long as it's good, and then there's a decline, and then it's canceled. Or
Do you know what it's called? That's called Jumping the Shark. Do you know what that's
yeah,
from?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
from Happy
Happy
Days.
Days.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I don't feel too old.
You're talking to 2 pros.
Am I
Cindy.
though?
Yeah, you are. Hate to break it to ya. Test us again.
Oh, okay.
But why? Yeah. What? Hold on. I want to get to
Also,
my point here.
gonna need you to talk a little closer to
Oh,
the
sorry.
mic. That's okay.
Okay.
You've been warned.
I've been
What's
warned.
your first
Dexter.
one?
I'm on blast. I've never
Dexter.
seen Dexter.
Dexter season 1
Season 1 was good. Yeah.
was
Okay.
the best season, and then every season after that was like progressively
worse. Yeah.
That is.
Where they,
yeah.
yeah, it was like the series finale should have been season 1.
I feel like that happens more often with dramas than it does with comedies. Like I'm thinking like Grey's Anatomy. I don't know if you guys
I was
ever
made.
had,
I'm
ever
pretty
had
sure-
women that made you watch
I was
it
made
with
to
them.
watch a
Yeah,
few
of course you
episodes.
were.
Yeah.
No, season 37 was peak Grey's Anatomy.
Seasons 1 through 3 were solid. Beyond that,
See,
unwatchable.
we really don't know about.
I know. See,
that,
but
though.
you guys are pros.
we
You
don't.
know
We know
everything.
about it. We know.
I've probably seen 8 seasons of Grey's Anatomy.
Have you really?
And I'm like an amateur.
Hey,
You've
I'm
seen 8
impressed.
seasons?
Probably.
You love your wife. You love your wife. That's
I've
what that
never
says.
watched Grey's Anatomy with my wife.
Really?
Well, now you're just outing yourself. Who did you watch it with? Or was it alone? I don't know what's worse.
That's okay.
What's worse?
It's okay.
I'll never know. Yeah, but it's like you've only seen 8 seasons, but there's like 20. So I'm like a
Yeah.
filthy Grey's Anatomy
There's
casual.
a lot.
What are you, lame?
Yeah, but I drop off some series like Mad Men. I
dare.
get
Yeah.
you know almost to the end and then I just lose.
Oh, really?
interest.
Almost to the end.
Yeah.
I want to go back and finish Walking Dead.
Oh, see that one.
That
I
was-
tapered off.
That was a big one for me.
I've given up
Yeah.
on that one.
I loved that show.
I loved the first. Okay, well, first of all, Shane is one of the sexiest men
Hell
alive.
yeah. Hell yeah.
The Punisher.
When he died, I was really bummed.
I'd let him have
Spoiler
sex with
alert.
my wife if he thought I was dead.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Walking Dead reference. Mom. Watch the first episode, I believe.
He was
Yeah.
in the last movie I watched for 5 minutes. Here's a quiz for
Wolf
you.
of Wall Street.
Nope. John
That baby
Bernthal.
driver. Baby Driver.
He's like main cast.
He's in it for 5 minutes, I swear.
Okay.
He's in every movie for 5 minutes.
If you guys
Maybe
don't
that's
know
why
which
I
one,
like him so much. I haven't.
You just get a nice dose
like
of
Sean
them.
Bean, right?
I
Like
love Sean Bean.
Sean Bean is the love of
He's
my
in
life.
Troy.
I know he is.
Did you know that?
I did.
he gets killed off, doesn't he?
Of course.
Probably.
Actually, no. Troy is the one of the only movies that he doesn't get killed
Oh,
off.
spoiler. I just started it up
What?
again.
Oh, sorry, he doesn't. He lives.
He lives.
And
It's
that is a
Sean.
spoiler,
Sean
Sean
Bean
Bean.
is a spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, this guy's gonna die.
He gonna die.
He's so great, though. He's just like his little smile, you know. He's like, he's always talking with a smile.
I love his accent.
you know?
Like when I heard that he does
But of course.
books on tape, like he does audiobooks, I'm like,
James.
yes, please.
For England, James.
I'm gonna give
For
you the
England.
same 6 minutes you gave me.
Same 6 minutes you gave me. Yeah. I love Sean Bean. I know you're a big Sean Bean fan. We have that in common.
Oh yeah.
I also share the same man love or woman love, in your case.
Yeah.
I say.
Why do we have to
I
gender?
say
Yeah.
whatever gender
Yeah.
the person.
Can't it just be a universal
Can it just be love?
And I do.
Love
no,
is
it
love is
can't.
love, Troy.
Troy's like, it has to be a sexual, romantic love. It's the only love I understand.
I don't understand nuance.
Sex.
Love.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, but going
I'm just
back,
kidding, by the way.
Going back to TV, what are your guilty pleasures? What are the shows that you're like, I love this show, but I don't tell people that I love this show?
I mean, I'm watching Dragon Ball Z right now. I'm going through the whole thing. I watched it as a kid. I keep thinking to myself, I'm just a kid who I'm a kid with resources now. Do you know what I
Right?
mean? I'm like 12 years old, but I have resources. I can pay for,
Yeah.
$7 a month to not
Yeah.
watch Dragon Ball Z most
Yeah.
of it, but then be like, oh yeah, I gotta,
You grocery shop like your parents are perpetually out of town.
yeah.
Yeah.
Candy.
And you have Pokemon cards everywhere
Yeah,
now.
I saw
bunch
that.
Of, bunch of Pokemon.
Last time I was here, there was like 3.
Oh.
Now there's a dozen.
There's I think there's a
Some
new,
of them are duplicates. Like this, we're gonna have to have an
Are
intervention.
you dealing now?
This one's new. This is a Clefairy.
You gotta glare. There you go.
Beauty.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Oh.
But yeah, like I bought $150 worth of snacks a couple weeks ago. I got a big box full of Twix bars.
Heck
Yeah.
Big box full of Twix. You guys want some before
Troy
you leave?
busted out the last time. It was like a week ago,
Yeah.
and he's just like, have a Twix. It was like
Yeah.
the Cool House at Halloween,
Right?
That's
with
my
the
house.
full
Or
size
like the
chocolate
cool
bars.
house after school that's
Yeah.
like, whose house we're going to go to?
Let's
Troy's got Twix.
Troy
He's
has
got-
full size Twix bars.
And I'm like, you kids keep me young, except I am one of the kids.
So Dragon Ball Z, huh?
Yeah, I've been.
I hear it's like a great kind of hero's tale.
It's a great show because
Is
like
it a cartoon?
yeah,
I've never
it's
seen
this
it.
anime. Oh,
Oh,
it's
okay.
so good. You should watch it.
I've been having a little bit of an anime
Really?
itch lately.
It's
yeah.
on Netflix, right?
Yeah, not Netflix. It's you got to go to the Funimation app. You got to buy a separate streaming service. Listen, it's worth it. Is it? I don't.
I
know.
swear it's on Netflix. Maybe Naruto's on Netflix.
There's a lot of anime on
They've got
Netflix.
they've got a lot of Miyazaki movies on.
all the
Netflix.
Miyazaki movies.
I know.
I love
They're
those
so good.
so
I rewatched
much.
Princess Mononoke. Dang it, that movie is so good.
That one slaps. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then Spirited Away, that's another one that's really
Spirited
good.
Away is a really it's a weird film that like
Mhm.
it's like you don't everyone's like you're gonna love it. It's like okay, it's like a weird kind of little girl in a weird world, but it actually is incredible.
Yeah, that's how I feel about all of his stuff. It's
Yeah.
I
just
wish
brilliant.
I could watch these films, but I'm not a weeb.
You gotta become one.
Nah.
I don't even know what that word means.
Means you like
I'm
It's
old.
a white guy that's
Help me, I'm
really into
poor.
like Asian and Japanese culture. A weeb.
am I a weeb?
Yeah.
Well, you do have your hair in a ponytail.
Yeah, you're like got a
And
little
you're wearing all
samurai
black.
hair. Your Pokemon cards, Dragon Ball Z.
I'm like the guy. Yeah, I'm definitely. I look like an anime character right now.
I think like for full weeb status, you have to like only. First of all, I think weebs don't date women, but if they
Okay.
do, it would
they
have to
date
be
body pillows?
It would, yeah, body
Kamiko
pillows,
Town.
and they only will date Asian women.
And I definitely do not have one of those body pillows.
Yeah, I get it, man. Like, Asian women are beautiful. They're tiny, they're petite. Dudes
I'm not-
are all about that.
I'm not saying I'm anti-weeb. I'm just saying I'm not one.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Power to the weebs.
Power to the
Weeb
weebs.
power.
Hey.
Now, does a
get a little
weeb have
gross
to be
there.
white?
Yes.
What about like a
What about like a
Latin
Hispanic?
X,
Yeah.
Latinx,
Ugh.
you know,
A
person who likes
Hispanic
anime?
person.
Do you guys ever worry I
I worry
I'm
constantly.
So scared.
Yeah.
I'm scared that like I'm so behind in nomenclature that I'm gonna say something that is actually really offensive.
You just did. This is a big trick on you.
I know. That's why I know. Like, because I have a family member who will remain nameless, who still says colored, and I'm like, that's not okay.
I'm pretty sure Troy has used that phrase on the podcast.
Only to describe the popsicles that I'm offering you, though. They're colored.
They're not clear.
They're different colors.
And I'm just like, Troy, you
Canceled.
can't say that.
Canceled.
I dare them to cancel us.
I don't know. I don't think.
Please don't cancel us.
I think it's like, well, we have nothing to cancel. Canceling happens to people who are like,
who have something to lose.
yeah, it's true. As long as we stay at the bottom, we'll be fine.
That's right.
What could they take
just
from
look
us?
up at
Our
everyone who's
dignity?
into stuff and just
You
throw
can
stones at them.
You can say whatever you want from the bottom.
Yeah,
it's
that's true.
great.
Yeah.
But we don't. But we choose not to, and that's what
Started
makes
from
us
the bottom. We're still here.
Still here. Oh gosh.
Someone's got to provide services to the bottom dwellers.
And it's us.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
we are so privileged. We're sitting here being like, we're bottom dwellers.
We are
With
very
our
lucky.
luxurious
We are not.
electric fan.
We have an electric fan. There's a
dousing
camera
us in
right
cool
there.
water. Cool water.
What's your
There's a
guilty
mister
pleasure
on it.
TV show, Lyndon?
I'm not sure I'm ashamed of anything.
What
I
should you be
watch.
ashamed
What's
of?
your shame, Lyndon?
It used to be like
It's the shame hour.
I would
Yeah.
watch Star Wars, Clone Wars, the animated series
I heard
before
it's good.
it was like cool
what are you,
to
a
watch
baby?
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Before it went mainstream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where and I
With
had
all
to
the
tell people, be
posers.
like,
Yeah,
guys,
yeah,
there's so much new canon in this animated TV series, and they're like, don't be such a loser, Lyndon.
Who told you that, though?
You,
I didn't tell you that.
circa 2015,
I might have joked about it.
and I'm like, Troy,
I don't think so.
have you seen? Like, I was like, it was like season 4.
That sounds like Theo or Andrew. What's his name?
Forget about him.
Sorry,
Maybe.
Andrew.
Because and I was trying to explain to everyone, like I wouldn't tell anyone that I was watching like 1, 2, 3, but season 4 or 5,
Yeah,
I can't remember.
First 3 seasons
season
for
4,
babies.
George Lucas was getting ready to sell
Oh yeah.
LucasArts, Lucasfilm, Lucas.
Lucasfilmsies. Yep.
How much did it? Wasn't it like something like 4 billion?
Billions.
4
Yes.
builds. Yep.
Yeah.
And so he was like, "This is my last chance to make things that I want to be canon." So he went hard in that season, just like being like, "Can't take this away from me, Disney. Can't take this away from me, because it's in there and it's real." And I was trying to tell people, like, Darth Bane was in that season.
Was he?
Yeah,
What?
he shows up as like
was
a force projection. He was kind of like he wasn't a force ghost. They had to make that clear. Like the season was wild.
I got to go back and watch season 4.
So that's You haven't even watched Rebels.
Well, come on, dude. Rebels is like I mean, I go through this process where it's like, this is for kids. It's dumb. I don't like it. The lightsabers are too skinny, and then eventually I come around to it,
Yeah,
and I'm okay with the skinny little pipsqueak sabers.
yeah.
I find it interesting that George Lucas is a billionaire, but dresses like he has a cable show on how to make bird houses.
Oh, they all do. That's
right.
That's,
Steven Spielberg too.
How is a
Yeah.
billionaire supposed to dress?
Like he's
In
got
all
a lot of
gold.
money.
gold-plated
Everything.
suit.
Gold sequin
Yeah.
tracksuits.
Yeah.
Washed clothes washed in the tears of inferior men.
Yeah, or the blood of children.
Oh yeah, there's what's that? Were you guys talking about that on the podcast, or was I hearing
Oh,
about
the
that somewhere else? What's
sex
it called?
death cult of billionaires.
What's it called?
Just that billionaires are
something chrome.
Epstein.
Adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome. Yeah. They have an adrenochrome. Yeah,
Wasn't that an Alex Jones conspiracy thing
I
that
mean-
turned out to be 100% real?
I mean, adrenochrome is it's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
Yeah. Let's not talk about it. Do you want to talk about aliens though? You had said like in your initial approach to be on the podcast, you said like let's talk about friggin' aliens.
Yeah, because you guys said you're like, we should talk about aliens. I'll talk about aliens.
Are aliens real?
Absolutely,
They are?
they are real.
Oh no. Did you know that like so as a missionary, I used to be so afraid that aliens were real because I thought if they were, it would be just such an obvious giveaway that God was not real.
See, and I disagree. I think that it is like proof that he is real.
I had this bad dream on the mission, and I woke up, and the dream was basically that like aliens were manipulating me and my feelings, and I thought
They made me sad.
yeah, and I woke up and I was like, God, you better not be aliens. You better not be aliens, because if you are, I'll be upset. And this was in my first transfer, and like everything was a little sad.
Yeah.
Actually, it was my
Homesick
second,
and-
so it was even worse, you know.
Mission stories, huh?
Yeah, Lyndon. you're like, you're like,
I don't want to talk about mission stories.
Good thing that your podcast.
Well,
isn't
that's
named-
a
but
very,
aliens though. I
that's
was
the
afraid
whole
of aliens.
premise of Assassin's Creed, right? That God is actually just aliens.
Yeah.
Well, that's like X-Files, right? Like that's X-Files has this story arc from the beginning all the way through that examines the role aliens played in as our progenitors.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, obviously, you know, there's not any truth to it, but it's very interesting
Well,
how
what
it
if
all
there
comes
is?
together. And there is, but
Here's the thing.
there's a lot of things that they hypothesize that are you think that's a really cool thought.
I think once you open the door to aliens, you open the door to many things that it's like, why? Maybe there were aliens. Maybe there, you know, there's a friend of the podcast who believes that the way it was a movie Interstellar, these fifth dimensional beings are basically humans that have just sort of transcended with technology and know-how and whatever else to be able to, you know, create wormholes and sort of go back in time and help, you know, the previous human race. Or it's a bit of a time loop in that movie where it doesn't really
Use gravity to manipulate their feelings.
It's oh no. But yeah, like it opens up all these doors, and so as a person of faith, you know, how does that? So you think it like
So there's this documentary.
proves that God's real?
Yeah, there's this documentary on Prime, Amazon Prime, and it's
Yeah.
called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. And I just randomly watched it one day, and I just loved it because it just. So the whole premise is, excuse me, that where they eventually get is that they think that there is this universal, life-giving energy that exists everywhere in the universe, and only
Yeah.
advanced
It's called the Force.
only advanced excuse me populations have learned how to utilize it. You know, like it gives everything life, but we don't know how to, I guess, manipulate or use it, but these more civilized cultures do, and so they're able to communicate planet to planet, transcending time, transcending distance by way of this power, this force, whatever. And I mean, obviously it's not quantifiable, it's not provable, but the way that they talk about it, I'm like, I do believe in like a universal power that connects every living thing that's out there in the universe. And I think I'm in the camp of, I think it would be incredibly myopic and even arrogant to an extent to be like, we are the only living beings in the universe. Like,
Yeah. What do you think about the UFOs that are just like the government's like, yeah, they're real,
right?
and here they're friggin' triangles.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my gosh, Illuminati confirmed. You know what I mean?
Did you hear about the Phoenix fires? What's it called? Phoenix Fox fires, I think it was called. Okay,
No.
so
Sounds like a conspiracy I've heard
no,
of.
it's not. Okay, you guys need to watch BuzzFeed Unsolved. Do you watch BuzzFeed Unsolved?
I have seen
Oh,
BuzzFeed
that show's
Unsolved.
so good. They do an episode about this UFO sighting in Phoenix that was like in 1997. So there's a ton of footage, and it was
Yeah.
like on the news and everything. It's crazy.
UFOs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a story about people in Africa, and these aliens came down and like visited, and there's like 40, 50 people present, and they all like have the same story. And isn't that weird? Like, and they
Yeah.
all like describe it, like 40 people all kind of testifying of the same thing. But which is strange. Like usually the alien abductions are like one weird crackpot sort of a, trailer trash person. And well,
actually,
that's
somebody actually.
hold on.
Oh.
Thank you, Lyndon.
Oh.
Sorry, go ahead.
Somebody actually said they're like, do you ever notice it in movies and TV shows? It's only white people that get abducted. You notice that?
Yeah, I do notice that. Yeah.
Aliens are racist. That's what I'm saying. That's the bullet point of what I'm saying. Either that or they're like, we want to go with the worst race. So we're just going to take white people.
Or, hey, that's
racist.
Yeah, literally.
You can't fight racism with more racism.
What are you ranking the races here?
Yeah, I can. I can fight racism with racism against myself. White
And
people
I
are the
do.
worst.
You're like, goodbye. The news is like one noble soul.
Okay,
Well,
well,
have you
so
guys-
what are the aliens doing? Just observing? They don't want to interfere?
I think they have.
They
I
have
think
like
they
their
have.
prime directive? Is that
I
what
think
it was
it's been
called?
happening. I saw this guy, Sagar and Jetty with, I think it's called The Hill or Rising. Anyway, they were on Rogan once, but he was talking, he's been sort of covering this recent, flood of UFO confirmations by the government. And what he said was like, it's probably just the fact that like everyone has like high res cameras on their person at all time in the form of their smartphone. And it always seems to be around like military installations, which in my opinion makes sense as far as like, where would an alien go? Where would they be trying to observe? What would they be observing? The weaponry, right? Like if we were to, countries do it to each other, right? They want to know about, the offensive capabilities of the foreign enemy or whatever. And so, yeah, in my opinion, it makes sense that that's like what the aliens would be doing. Yeah.
I think the science that's manifest in early populations is also fascinating, right? Like the pyramids or Stonehenge. It's like how the way that these things are lined up with the stars and like equinox and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And then in Peru, I just watched a
The
documentary about
South
these.
Americans.
They have these giant pictographs that were made into the ground that are only visible from the air, and they've been there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. What are they called? I can't remember what they're called. But anyways, yes, you should look that
Hieroglyphs or
up.
something?
They're just, and they're massive. They're just, anyways, I'll send you a link on it.
Yeah, send us a pic.
It's super cool because they're saying that, they were made to pay homage to the gods because only the gods could see them. But the way that they are designed and the way that they're executed, you're like, how in the world could you do that without having a bird's eye view?
Oh, they probably just sent some guy up in like a hot air balloon.
In a friggin' plane.
Yeah.
He's up there in a hot air balloon made of
nice
animal skins.
some Lamanites and
he's like,
Nephites going up.
He's like pointing it out with like flags, symbols.
Semaphore.
Yeah. And he's like,
Okay.
whoosh, whoosh.
It's
And he
wild.
knows it's a one-way trip.
Yeah.
And he's doing it for the gods.
He's doing it for the gods.
That's
Or
my...
some winged creature that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, let's not.
Yeah. Truly,
Maybe
though.
condors were bigger.
Have you heard this? I think it's Robert Schock is the guy who sort of, he's this academic who, I think he's kind of been blackballed since, but he sort of champions this idea that the Sphinx are actually older than the pyramids.
Really?
By about 14,000 years, 10 to 14,000 years.
Really?
Yeah. And that it's all because of water erosion on the Sphinx is much older
More
than
advanced?
the what's it called? The pyramids.
Huh.
And obviously the implications of this would be like crazy, but it's interesting because it does sort of, fly in the face of a lot of what the evidence, not the evidence, but like sort of the preconceived notions of what ancient Egypt was, what was going on there. So it's like maybe we have this different idea. Maybe what we think happened didn't actually.
Well, I think that's probably likely, right? That's the other thing that kind of bugs me is when people say with so much certainty, like this is what they did back then. You're like, shut up. You
Yeah.
didn't get that from a ceramic pot. Get
Same.
bent.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what I didn't realize, because I'm not a big science buff, is that the Earth has gone through 5 previous extinctions. Did you know that? Like cycles of extinction where
Yeah.
everything has gotten wiped out. Every biological thing on the Earth has gotten wiped out, and then evolution started all over again. It's happened 5 times.
Now, how do we know that?
How do we know it's not 4 times?
Yeah.
Because
Or
science.
12.
That's the thing, right? Like science.
They're all making it up.
I don't want to be a science denier, but I want to be a science.
I don't want to be a science denier, but I'd like to take a moment
Let's
to
go ahead and
deny
deny
some science.
science.
I don't want to deny science,
fake.
but I'm pretty sure I can.
The primordial pizza? Give me a
Is
break.
Magic.
He's a witch.
That's different.
the
This
camera?
this is technology and engineering.
True,
Science,
yeah,
on the
yeah.
other hand, is out to lunch.
I do think you have to stay teachable with science.
Oh,
though,
for
right?
sure.
Like,
Oh, no, no,
the
no,
second
no,
that
no.
well, and that's the hubris of humanity is the fact
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we're like, yeah, we have figured it all out. You know,
Mhm.
when you look at how much has been discovered even in the past 200 years, it's like you'd have to be pretty close-minded to think there's
Yeah.
nothing else. We've got all the basics down. It's like, not
Well,
a chance.
the problem is that people dedicate their entire lives and egos and their reputations on theories that could be false, and I think they're facing this problem in. I know psychology. You know, that's like there's huge problems with like the there's-
Replication problems.
Yeah, they can't replicate any experiments in psychology. It's all a bunch of garbage, you know. And also in, I believe, physics. What's the other physics? Quantum physics. Quantum
Oh,
physics.
other
that's the one. I
physics.
got nothing.
There's
I
like
know
a
nothing
whole-
about that.
Like string theory, I guess, has been this this idea that's been you know, kind of accepted for a long time, but I think what they're realizing now is that it's very hard to prove any of the theories in string theory
Oh, yeah.
to the point where like they're actually starting to re-theorize. There's some other people are trying to like have a different point of view on it, which is all very much beyond my understanding, but it is nevertheless very interesting.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that like these guys don't want to say like I was friggin' wrong. I spent 80 years
Right? Yeah.
on nothing. Can you imagine?
On a neat idea.
I mean, I did that at my job. I worked at an oil company, and my job was to like figure out how we get rid of gravel on these old well sites. And obviously, the answer is just like bury the gravel. But I wanted a job. I wanted to keep working, and so I was like, well, we could like buy an airplane, put it on the airplane, and fly it out to sea. No, I'll just keep working on this. Then you know what I mean.
You're just there to brainstorm.
I'm there to brainstorm
I'm
and
the
figure out
idea
how much it would
guy.
cost.
You're like, so there's my hot air balloon idea. That one is cost
Solid.
prohibitive.
We build a trebuchet.
We nuke the oil site. That gravel is history.
We send it back to the prehistoric era. They're like,
cover it all in tar.
there's a town right next door. Like, never mind. Back to the drawing board. I'll be in my office if you need me.
You're like, I'm just saying that would work.
Gonna need Friday off too, by the way. Is that
To
a
do more
problem?
thinking.
Yeah, yeah.
So in the history of, obviously we need to move on from this anecdote, but in the history of oil and gas,
Uh-huh.
they have not figured out how to get rid of gravel.
Listen, what they haven't figured out is what to do with summer students.
Okay.
That's
There
what
it
they
is.
still have not figured out how to do. And so they're like, what's the thing we already know what to do? Gravel. Give it to the friggin' summer students and give them the summer to think about it. 2 years later, I was still like billing time to the gravel project, and that's their fault, not mine, to be
True.
frank.
What you were saying about psychology, though, it made me think of this. So, do you guys know the book Angela's Ashes?
Is it about the Holocaust?
It is not.
Okay.
It's about famine in Ireland.
Ah.
Anyways, so the guy that wrote it, William Styron, I think is his last name. But anyways, he wrote another book about depression, and it was from his point of view because a lot of authors and artists that he knew in his lifetime who suffered from depression, a lot of them killed themselves. And this was back in, 70s, 60s era where it was very stigmatized. You didn't talk about it. You didn't even know what it was. And so he wrote this book about his experience with it and how he managed to come out on the other side and obviously avoid suicide. But in that book, he talks about the science of psychology, and he said that somebody said to him once that if the human mind was the United States, what we know is the equivalent of Christopher Columbus landing on a shoreline.
Oh, wow.
It's like, that's how much we've figured out. And there's just this mass land.
Yeah.
And I've heard somebody else say that depression is the common cold of the psychiatric world.
Yeah.
So there's so many different subtleties and nuances and side effects and, I mean, symptoms that just get labeled with these, you know.
Yeah.
Well, we think it's anxiety. We think it's, you know, BPD or whatever.
Anxiety and depression is this like
Yeah.
epidemic of
Yeah.
our generation and
Oh, for
just
sure.
our time, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't get it. I think it's like we're all too comfortable. I think that is like if we were out, you know, had to chop down a tree every day.
Yeah.
I think we'd be, you know what I mean? Like all of our more immediate fears and concerns are at bay, and so it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, humanity was not designed to be this secure, right? To be
Yeah,
this
yeah.
comfortable. And the fact that we are, I think it lends itself to there being so many psychological problems. Like I struggle with depression, anxiety. And that was part of the reason why I was asking about TV shows, if you guys rewatch, because since I was a kid, I rewatched the same series over and over.
What
and
is it?
over.
Which series?
So many.
Just
so many. Like
That's sort of
Seinfeld.
yeah.
Currently, I watch Family Guy and South Park every day. And I've seen them both. I can't even tell you how many times I've gone through both of them.
I saw the
Rough
meme
estimate.
the meme about that.
About what?
They're like, people with anxiety
Yes.
rewatch shows, and then it's like Office fans are like,
It's because you want the distraction, you want the escape that TV provides because it gets
comforting.
you out of your head,
Yeah.
right? Because, so I know this is all really heavy. This
No,
isn't
it's-
really
we're
fun
all-
stuff for
this
your.
is lightweight, baby.
This is light
So,
and funny.
you can go and you can do something called neural feedback therapy. And so what they do, it's basically an EEG. Oh, it's basically an EEG. They put sensors like on your head, and then they run you through different scenarios, different actions, opening your eyes, closing your eyes, reading, things like that. And they're able to measure the electricity in your brain. And they're able to see what's firing when, how much. And so they're able to tell if there's asymmetry in your brain, because ultimately there's supposed to be symmetry in the electricity in your brain. So now what they're able to see is they're actually able to quantify and see anxiety.
Just how depressed you are.
Well, exactly. Well, like, and to see anxiety, because this part of your brain, I don't have the wording for it because I'm not smart.
Like
frontal
lobe.
Yeah. So
frontal cortex.
like the front.
the front part of the brain.
the forehead part.
When you have anxiety, bad anxiety, it's constantly firing in fight or flight mode 24/7.
Yeah.
And so when you realize that, when you have anxiety, you think, oh, wait a minute. Not everybody feels like this all the time. And I've discovered to myself that the reason why I turn to television so much is because it's how I escape that being in fight or flight mode constantly all
Yeah.
the time. And so going to shows that you've seen before, there's no surprises. You know you're going to like it.
Yeah.
You know what's going to happen. It's just comforting. It's a comforting escape. So, and I only learned that recently. I was like, oh, you mean I'm not
So-
just a loser that's addicted to television?
Like, well, that too. But also,
Yeah.
So is
yeah.
television comforting
kidding, I am too.
mental
No,
medicine
I totally am.
or a crutch?
I think a little column A, little column B.
that comment.
I agree with Troy when, he said that we've just gotten kind of too comfortable, because when I was younger and I didn't have names for the things that I struggle with now, I got a lot more done, because I was like, it doesn't matter if I feel sad today. I have to get up off my ass and do something today.
Yeah.
And I still do, but there's a lot more, I give myself a lot more latitude now to be like, well, I'm having a hard time, so maybe I don't have to push myself as much. But that's just life, you know? You do have to push yourself. You do have to put yourself in uncomfortable situations and be uncomfortable and be tired and be the rest of it if you want to go anywhere, if you want to progress.
So are you, you said you've struggled with depression.
Yeah.
Is it to the point of like, because my whole thought, because I get sad. I don't know that I've ever had depression. Maybe
Alien-induced sadness or real sadness?
Well, it's always the aliens, in my opinion.
They can't be held blameless all the time.
I've been sad before. The aliens have made me sad before. I'm like a friggin' Scientologist.
Who's that?
By the way,
Hey,
so you all know.
Psychology is bullcrap.
Yeah.
Praise Xenu.
No, but I guess to finish the point, I've been sad before, but I think usually it is like a mindset shift for myself. And I believe for myself that I can pull myself out of my sadness with various activities. I usually need some goal. Honestly, like a lot of the podcast, do you know what I mean? Podcast, like the sketches that I do.
Yeah.
I have these like artificial goals I create for myself. Gives you sort of like this sense of meaning. It almost like doesn't matter how many people watch this. It's more about like, you know, having an achievement, doing a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we feel important. We have microphones right now.
yeah.
You know, it's probably like the reason why so many people like start podcasts is because it's like this low entry barrier to, you know, self-soothing and
It is very therapeutic.
You know what I mean?
Right? To be able to sit and talk. Yeah.
And to get your thoughts and feelings out. Like my whole, I forget who labeled this podcast as like a diary of Troy's faith crisis. Who was, somebody said that.
It was like 80% of our listeners.
But that's basically what it was. Like I had this big, it's so funny. Like I had this big faith crisis. My first reaction is like, let's do a Mormon podcast. What do you think, buddy?
I'm like, you son of a bee.
You're like, just
count me in.
Just talk to your bishop, Troy.
I think, well, I was.
No, I'm just.
They don't have the answers.
Yeah, don't get
That's
me started
another-
on that,
For the record,
Yeah.
no bishop has ever helped anyone. Ever.
No, but I know what you mean. Like, I think that
JK.
for a lot of people, depression is circumstantial. It's they're not happy with things in their life. They're not happy with situations. The way that I differentiate it for myself is because I know that I do have clinical depression. It's when you feel nothing. It's it's a numbness.
Yeah.
It's just dark numbness. And then for me, it manifests with suicidal ideation as well. And so I think when people talk suicide, immediately, like, everybody's butts clench up and they're like, should we call someone? but
Call Albert Camus.
I joke about it too much, and I think I'm too blasé about it. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. Like, for people that have experienced it, there's a kinship there where you understand that when you're in the thick of it, it's not panic, it's not crisis. It just feels like the most natural thing in the world. And when you're able to make the distinction of this is me and this is my mental illness, and you can recognize it for what it is, then you just take that power back and you go, oh, no. I don't really want to end my life. My disease is just in that place right now, but I'll come out of it.
Yeah.
And that's for me. I'm not saying that's for everybody else, but I do appreciate it when people feel safe enough with me to talk about suicidal ideation, because it's been a very significant part of my life. I remember
Really?
I told my therapist, one of my therapists, about he's like, because they'll always ask this, they'll be like, do you have a plan? And I'm like, hell yeah, I have a plan. I'm a planner. I know exactly how I would do it.
Gosh.
And so I explained it to him, and he was like, that is a very well thought out plan. I'm like, I don't cut corners. And he's like, it's very considerate how you've done it. And I'm like, oh yeah, no one will be inconvenienced. Trust me. But so it's almost like you take the emotion out of it. You make it very pragmatic.
Yeah.
And for me, that's been kind of how I make the distinction of, I'm not going to be a victim of this, because I know that this is just an extension of what I struggle with.
So you're not scared? That idea doesn't it doesn't scare you that you have a plan. Like, is that?
No, not at all. No.
When there's something about, so I've mentioned before, like I own a gun now, right?
Yeah.
And I remember there's something about, I remember I felt this when I first started driving a car too, where it's like, I have so much power.
Yeah.
I could, you know, oncoming traffic, kill myself and whoever else is in that car. With a gun too, there's something about a gun that's like, I could like press a button and I'm dead.
Right.
Like there's something really strange about that. But also, so that was a weird thing I was kind of struggling with. Like I wouldn't say that I've ever really had suicidal thoughts in the way that you're describing, where it's just sort of like this, you know, like this calm sort of acceptance of like, yeah, I'll die and this is how I'm going to do it. It's kind of scares me of just how easy it could be. And I don't know what that's about, but that's just sort of.
I think that's definitely the way you're describing it is definitely, I think, more of a healthy, like it shows that your brain is healthy. It's like, this is a scary thing. That's a bad thing. Let's run from this.
But also it's like, I entertain the thought and it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
but you know, I like what President Uchtdorf said, or Elder Uchtdorf said once. He said, we can't control the thoughts that fly over our heads, but we can control the ones that build a nest on top of our head. And I was like, yeah, that's true, you know, and
so true.
I think one of the blessings, and I hate using the word blessing because I feel like it's just so like, anyways, one of the blessings.
This is a safe space.
It's a safe space.
This is a safe space.
One of the blessings for me has been that the plan that I have is not, I couldn't execute it at this point in my life. I'm not at a place where I could do it.
Financially
yeah,
speaking.
exactly. Financially. So
I'm not rich enough to kill myself.
I've got a buffer there where I'm like, well, I can't do it because, and so I think that honestly.
Can we hear the plan?
Do you want me to? Oh, that's super dark. I don't know. I won't tell you.
Then we have to like put trigger warnings.
Exactly.
We'll record it, put it on like a Patreon, put it for a high price. Not high enough for
Cindy's suicide.
Yeah, I was kind of like, okay, a plan, that's fair. But then you're like, I don't even have enough money to pull off this plan. Then
I'm just curious.
But
to
be honest,
tell me more.
I really think that
driving a Lamborghini off a bridge or something.
That is an instrument of Heavenly Father for me.
Yeah.
To be like, because, you know, for some people they'd be like, well, you just readjust your plan to make it more attainable, but for me it's not.
Who's
it's
giving you
like,
financial
that's
advice?
It. So I feel like it's Heavenly Father's way of being like keeping it out of reach.
If you just budgeted better, you could kill yourself.
I was gonna say, Lyndon's over here like, we can get you dead. We can make this happen.
How many times a week are you buying avocado toast?
You're gonna need to
because it's saving your life.
You're gonna need to put a trigger warning.
We might. Yeah, I think we actually
either
are going
that
to
or you're gonna
have
cut this out, or we just need to change the subject. But I will say that, you know, for anybody that does struggle with suicidal ideation,
talk to those people.
Don't talk to us.
The best thing that you can do is to talk to somebody. When you talk to someone about it, it takes away so much of the power that it has over you, or so much of the strength that you feel that it that's holding you with. So, talking about it.
I take it back. Talk to us.
Talk to a safe person. Talk to family member, doctor, somebody who's been through it, because we need to normalize it to the point where people don't feel so scared that if they say something, they're stamped with a label of you're messed up.
There can't be a punishment for talking about it. That's the big thing. And I think this episode probably will be another like very popular one. Whenever we've discussed mental health in the past, people are very like well responsive to it. And so I don't really want to, unless you want to change the subject, but I'm
good to keep going if you
want.
want.
Kind of curious. I think there was another thing sorry, it looked like you had a thought there.
So I have a family member, my brother.
Yeah. He
had a traumatic brain injury. He was riding his bike to work, and he worked downtown at Price Waterhouse.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say that or not. But anyways.
Thanks,
He was going into the building, and the garage door came down on top of his head when he was on his pedal bike. Yeah. And he had his helmet on, thankfully, otherwise he would have been dead. But he has had this traumatic brain injury, and we're 4 years out now, maybe 5, and he's still experiencing the effects of it. And what's been so interesting to see objectively is the change that happened to his personality, to the way that he thinks.
Yeah.
And he has been in the thick of awful depression and anxiety that has spawned from this event. And one thing that he's said to me is he's just like, I had no idea that it felt like this for you.
Yeah.
And so once you can find that empathy with someone, even if it's not the same brand of mental health, somebody who can empathize with how difficult it is to try and function in a society that labels you as being defective or weak, if you struggle with these things, to be able to connect with someone and be like,
Totally.
oh, okay. There's just so much strength in normalizing these things, to be like, we've all got our crap, you know? And
Yeah.
it doesn't, you know, I think so many of the limitations that we feel are imposed by ourselves, but also imposed by what society's dictated what we can and can't do based on the limitations that we have.
Yeah, yeah.
So, anyways.
You said a couple of things that made me think just about I don't know, I guess I've sort of looked at my own reaction to when I've sort of faced other people's mental illness, and I know I've felt frustration
Oh yeah.
with, and maybe I have thought those thoughts of like, just get over it.
Yeah.
You know? And it's always kind of been it comes from a place of like, for instance, in my house, it was always like, oh, you're hungry? Go make a sandwich. You know, it's like, I'll just do it myself, you know? And I have had like depressive episodes in my life where I've had to make myself a sandwich and pull myself out of it.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of help too there, where like people will sort of like, I feel like I've told this story before, but like, I was like so wound up, so tight on my mission, and I was like, God, I didn't want to disappoint God or myself or anyone.
Yeah.
And I was just like writing in my journal on a P-Day.
Missions are a minefield for that.
They totally
Yeah.
are. And my one companion just like comes up to me. He's like, hey, I got like a scripture for you. Like, talks about like Jesus at the well. And I like burst into tears. And so like people have helped me, and I think it's maybe the lesson is like reach out to the people that you listen to those. I think that's where God really speaks the loudest. I really think that's where God is like very loud, very obvious.
Yes.
Whenever it's like, I don't know what career I want, God's like, yeah, I don't know, do whatever you want. But when it's like,
everyone thinks God is some sort of capitalist mastermind.
like a life coach.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? This is such an epiphany I'm having right now. That like truly every moment I've been like, I should help this person. It's so obvious. Do you know what I mean? It's so obvious that God like wants you to help whoever. But so that's like one lesson, one takeaway. But like another thing is that empathy you're talking about with people who are experiencing, because there is, to the outside observer, it does look like just do it.
Oh, for sure.
Just
like
get
you
up.
are the reason why you're not like, get up and exercise. If you're depressed, go outside, go for a walk, eat good food. And you're just like, yeah, you're right. You are 100% right. Those things will make me feel better.
I should do that.
But what you don't see or what you don't feel or experience is everything that's keeping me from doing those things that are very real things that exist in your mind that you're like, no, I can't.
Do you think that there's something to, and I don't want to, and this is that part of me that is a little like, maybe it's insensitive or whatever, but I mean, I'm just genuinely curious. Just because for myself, like, I feel like I have been in that place where I've just been like, I know I have lots of things to do, but I can't do literally anything somehow. And yet I somehow will like, move myself. And I sometimes have to like wiggle and shake just to like start something, to do the next thing, Right. I find that there's a momentum to it for myself.
Yeah.
Is that something, just how serious is it, I suppose? Like, would that work or do you know what I mean? Like,
I think that it is such a unique experience for everyone. I have friends who struggle with depression who do have days where they literally do not leave bed. They don't leave their house. They don't leave their
Yeah.
bed. That is a very foreign experience for me. So I can't put myself in their shoes, but it's hard to know. But I appreciate your point about Heavenly Father, because I think that
Hold on.
I do think that is the bedrock of my testimony, has been that in those moments of deep despair, I haven't been left comfortless. Like there has been, and learning the lesson that anytime I need peace, I need to feel peace, I can pray for peace and I feel peace.
Yeah.
It's one of the only formulaic, sure thing, A plus B equals C things in the gospel for me is when I pray for peace, peace comes.
Totally.
So that's why, I mean, we are people of the world. We are intelligent. I mean, relatively speaking, we're intelligent people.
We got 2 brain cells we can rub together, you know?
Yeah.
I think that
Cindy used the word myopic.
I did.
And I was going to ask you about that, but then we just sort of kind of moved on.
Like I was going to be like, you need to tone it down for the audience.
Oh,
of this
sorry.
podcast. Just kidding. Everyone who listens to this podcast
Is a genius.
is super intelligent.
But I think that when you do,
We got brainiacs in the audience.
when
It's the only reason they listen.
When you do have that curiosity for the world, or that appreciation how things function in society and the world and the rest of it, and you don't block yourself off and be like, if it's not Jesus, I don't want to hear about it. When you're not one of those people, then you do come to
like that
many
voice.
crossroads in your life where you're like, is God real? Like,
Yeah.
am I brainwashed? Like, am I a
Yeah.
weirdo because I think that a dude lived 2,000 years ago and like turned water into wine? Honestly,
If you have a critical thought,
exactly.
if you actually, and I don't want to offend anyone.
No, but
But honestly,
yes.
if you haven't considered these things, you aren't thinking, and I don't want to like slap down your testimony or like your own, spiritual rigor, but you haven't thought about it hard enough.
Well, and maybe you're not there yet, but
And maybe
you
you're
will
not
get
ready.
there.
Maybe you're not ready
Yeah.
to do it yet.
But you will be at one point.
But I'll tell you, at the other side of I'm going to study the gospel really hard and think critically about it is a faith crisis. I'm
Yeah,
not joking.
Absolutely.
If you actually,
and it's not clean. I would say that I am still in the thick of faith crisis.
are you in
myself.
the thick of one?
Oh yeah. But this is the funny thing I've found is
Really?
that some of the most
Maybe
profound
we all are. I don't know.
some of the most profound
This guy?
revelations or inspiration or closeness that I felt to Heavenly Father has come in the thick of it. It's like what President Nelson said, Christ is never closer to us than when we have a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
And that's what a faith crisis is you're trying to sort it out because you're like, I'm an intelligent, critical thinking person, so how can I walk around thinking that, all these things in the Bible actually happen? But when you get down to the guts of why have I stayed in this for this long, and you get your come to Jesus moment, and you get really honest with yourself, for me, I cannot deny the relationship that I have with Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, and Jesus Christ. It's real. I can't explain it, but it's there. So that gives me enough to hold on to.
What
you
about-
need to talk, 'cause I have
What
been
about
talking
your
too much.
relationship with Joseph Smith?
Do you know what? It's interesting because for a while when I grew up in the church, I wasn't strong in the church at all. I hated church. And when
Really?
heck yeah. I would go middle of
Hated it.
winter, Drumheller. I would go for Young Women's. I would go and sit in the car that was turned off in like
Damn.
minus 30 because I
You do
did not
hate
want
church.
Yeah, I did. And when I graduated, I had no intention of staying active.
You're like
I
Jack
was
Nicholson
done.
in the snow and the shining. It's like,
exactly. But then when I started to find a testimony, Joseph Smith was a huge part of that, where I felt like I revered him so much. And then the further I got in my church journey, the more I started to feel a distance from him, and so I feel a distance from him now.
I think there is sort of there's somewhere in your testimony journey where it's kind of the same as like a TV show almost, where it's like you start off like, who the hell is this guy? And then you get into it, and there's I remember listening to the talks by what is his name? Madsen. Truman
Yeah,
G.
Truman G.
Madsen.
Madsen. That's me too.
That
I
was my
listened to
peak.
those.
Because I was like, this guy is the
Me
friggin'
too.
prophet of the restoration, and I
Yeah.
love him. He does a good job of leaving all of the worst stories out of his little...
He sure does. But he has such a charismatic way of speaking to. Can you imagine if he had a podcast?
When
He
they
wrote
wrote
the Book
of Mormon.
Scraps
Now, in
of
he
paper.
he did have times where he would quell
And he
disbelief,
said-
but it was not right. Dude, I love that. I could listen to that for like, and I
You
did.
know what? It's
hours.
brilliant because you never get comfortable with his tone singer.
And
Const-
it was good, but
Yeah. Porter guaranteed
oh my
his
gosh,
place
you're good at it too.
in the celestial kingdom.
In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he'd always end it so quickly. And then he just Christ, amen. You're like,
And I'm
what?
like,
It's
what?
over.
I'm like in tears, bawling. I'm like, where'd it go? Yeah.
Did you listen to it?
I've heard some Truman
Yeah.
G. Madsen.
Dude, you gotta listen.
I listened to that series, and that was a huge bolstering thing for my testimony of Joseph Smith.
Totally.
But yeah, there's a lot that
But
got
once
left
you,
out.
it sucks because once you go back and you do learn all of the facts, it's sort of like you missed that, Truman. You missed this part.
And
You
that's
didn't bring up that.
that is the part that I resent the most, is not the fact that that stuff happened, because I'm like, it humanizes him to me. It shows me what can happen when you're given an enormous amount of power, an enormous amount of, leeway to be like, this is the way things are going to go. He made a lot of mistakes, and did a lot of things that I'm like, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But what I resent the most is the whitewashing over the history.
Oh yeah,
That's
for
what I
me
resent.
too. Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, tell me that I shouldn't be learning about this stuff from people who've left the church and are trying to get me to do the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, people that have left the church and then want you to leave the church are the worst.
Do you
Make
find,
me sick.
No, do you find though that people go through a phase where they're so angry at the church,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're angry at you for staying in the church, but then I find that it sort of ebbs, and they come to a place where they've made peace with it, and then you're like, okay, we're good to go.
Oh, they're upset because they're like, I'm smart and I've left the church, and you're smart, so you need to leave the church.
Yeah.
To like, or else they either have to decide that they're not that smart or you're not that smart.
Yeah, it's
And they don't want to think less of you, but in order to think better of themselves, they're going to have to think less of you. And it's difficult for both sides.
It is, especially when you genuinely love and care about somebody. Like, I'm going through something similar. You ready? I'm about to open a can of worms. You
Open
ready?
it up.
This
With-
is my can opener.
With COVID
I'll
vaccine,
help you.
right? With COVID vaccine,
Yeah, I saw him. You posted something on the Facebook.
I did.
Are you an anti?
No.
I was trying to decide what side you were on.
And that's the reason I tried to leave it very vague, because I think that what I wanted to say applies to you regardless of what camp that you're in, right? But I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I have been vaccinated for several illnesses. To me,
Which ones?
List them all.
look at my
Let me tell you which
vaccine
diseases you'll get
passport.
because of them.
But to me, I think you have to go off your instinct in this instance. Go off
Right.
of your instinct. Feed your instinct correct information.
Yep.
You're responsible for that, for the information that you choose to read, and you should find balance with it and have conversations. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you feel is right.
So what happened? Did you have like some big argument with someone, or did you post like, "You better get vaxxed or you're not my family anymore"?
Somebody,
Because I'm seeing a lot of those,
Yeah.
by the way.
somebody
And
close.
it's like, relax, okay?
Somebody close to me posted something that I found to be very, what's the word? Oversimplified and offensive
Mhm.
about people who choose not to get vaccinated.
On social media?
I know.
Are you
right?
kidding me?
I was gonna report it, but
Mark Zuckerberg, look.
meh.
Like, I'm already on it.
Did you guys ever see that South Park with Mark Zuckerberg?
I never did.
Oh gosh, it's so good.
That's got to be a good one.
It is. But yeah, so this person's close enough to me that I'm like, I felt the need to say something, But I also know this person's very sensitive.
Sorry, so their comment was simplifying anti-vaxxer.
I don't want to say what it was because
It might
then
just be
it'll be
easier
obvious
if
who the person
you
was.
Say their name and bring up the post.
I know it would be.
Okay.
Oh no,
That
you know
was
what?
just a suggestion.
I'm just, you know what? I'm just gonna say it because I know this person's not gonna read it. But I won't say who this person is. But the post was, how can you tell if somebody's been vaccinated? And it said, ask them who they voted for. And it really bothered me because I was like, okay, now you're equating people who have chosen not to get vaccinated with your Trump lovers, your QAnon, your alt-right. And I'm like,
but Donald Trump told
that's a
everyone
step too
to get
far. I was
vaccinated.
like, that's a step too
Didn't he?
far.
He invented the vaccine.
That's what I thought.
He was in the lab.
I thought he was
The
he was
one
like
that
the
released it, or
I thought
the
he
one
was
that
like
came
the
up?
first one to get it,
Both.
and then he told everyone to get vaccinated.
And it's the best vaccine we're ever going to have. It's very good. It's better than everything.
It's full of words,
Also,
the best
don't
words.
get it. Yeah.
But I hated that idea of
I do too.
I was like, and so this is the thing. I'm not against the vaccine, but I'm against politicizing something that is so personal.
and the simplification of like
Yes.
you know what is bothersome to me about it is that we are simplifying we're removing information and truth from our like public discourse for the sake of like a simplification of everything. Like everything has to be in a little bite-sized meme. Our whole opinion has to like fit in a meme.
Yeah.
And if
If it can't be memed, it's not
it's
important.
not to be seen.
If you can't put it in a meme, then it wasn't good for baby.
Put it in the trash.
I think it's
stretch.
labeling. We want to label everything so that we can understand it better. Like I recently I had a conversation with somebody who was saying that instead of saying, so when somebody does something that's really racist or says something that's really racist, instead of saying you're a racist,
You're a friggin'
you
racist.
say what you just said was racist or what you just did was racist, and the tone shifts immediately because it's like, I'm not labeling you as a racist. I'm saying what you just did was racist.
What if they come back to double down? They're like, and it came from the deepest part of my soul.
Then you're like, okay,
Well, hold on. Like, I'm not
when
saying
you-
you're a
You're-
murderer.
when you
but you've
label,
committed murder.
no, but that's the thing. That's the thing, though, is that labels don't really come into history until like the 18th or 19th century. Before it was like this person committed murder. It
Interesting.
wasn't you're a murderer, because when we label things, it takes away the complexity, so it's easier to understand. It's like I voted liberal, so obviously I'm going to go and get my vaccination. Obviously, I support A, B, and C, and D because I'm a liberal. It's impossible for me to be a complex human being that has different points of view on
Just
different
all this
topics.
New age identity politics and tribalism.
Yeah.
I mean, what's even worse? You can politicize the vaccine, but you can also religiousize it.
Oh, definitely. I've heard people be like, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. If God wants me to die, then I'll die. And I think
They're like,
if that's what your instinct is telling you, I can't tell you you're wrong.
go
oh no,
for it.
yeah, because there's anti-vaxxers who are like, the vaccine is this and this and this because of the political reason. It's government control. And then someone will be like, but the prophet got it, and the prophet said we should get it. And then they're like, anyone who tells you not to get the vaccine is a false prophet.
Is
And I'm
the
like,
minion
oh,
of the
yeah.
adversary. Yeah.
I was like, yeah. Now, if you don't get the vaccine, you're an apostate.
You're a friggin' enemy of the state.
And nobody
you can
talks
just-
about
you
the
know,
fact
you
that
can
the
just say
church,
that.
the church news release said, do what you think is best for yourself.
Follow the spirit.
Do your thing.
Because so
What?
I have had pneumonia 4 times in my life. I have junky lungs, and I get sick
So you're high
every
risk.
year. I am high risk, and a
should-
whole bevy of other things. And so
You should get vaccinated against COVID.
there's a chance that if I think I already had it. I think I had it in December 2019. I'm almost positive I got it.
Of 2019?
Yeah.
Where were you in China then?
I was here. There was okay. Oh, I feel like I'm talking too much, you guys. I'm really sorry.
Well, you're the guest of
Well,
this
you want,
show.
Yeah, you need to shut up, Cindy.
This
Okay.
is called the Troy and Lyndon experience.
So I had a friend whose brother got super sick at the same time as I did. Actually, all of her brothers got sick, and she ended up having to take him to the hospital. I think it was 5 times in 2 weeks because his eardrum kept bursting.
Whoa.
And anyways, terribly sick. So she's in the hospital one of these times, and the doctor was asking about his symptoms, and he was getting really specific about things. And she was curious. She's like, what's up? Why do you ask that? And he goes, 80% of the people in the waiting room are presenting with the same symptoms as his brother, and we don't know what it is, so we're calling it influenza B. This is in December.
Whoa.
I got so sick in December, I lost my voice. I had an insanely sore throat, congestion in my lungs. So I think I've already had it. That doesn't mean that I'm impervious to it. It doesn't mean I don't need the vaccine.
Did it affect your taste at all?
Taste,
I
smell?
don't remember. I don't. Obviously not to an extent that I noticed it.
Because that's always my thing that I throw. Because I have members of my family who keeps claiming they had it in December 2019.
Do you?
I have members of my family
Maybe
also
my mom
claiming
and sister both claim they had it.
I think I did, but
we all
you're
got a cold in December of 2019.
That
We're
is the
like, it
hallmark.
was COVID.
Losing your smell and taste is the hallmark of COVID.
I guess some people don't have it as bad. But for me, still, I'm like, I take a bite of something, I'm like, COVID. Like that's what that tastes like now. Like it's.
Did you have it? Did you get
yeah,
COVID?
Yeah,
You did?
December of 2020, I had it, and I tested positive. And I mean, it feels like my sense of smell is coming back, but things smell different. They just smell.
So since you've had
different.
it and your body's fought it, do you feel like you will benefit from the vaccine?
I got the vaccine, just because it's like the socially appropriate thing to do.
Exactly.
It's mostly why I'm getting it.
I know that I will get it. And I know that the reason that I will get it is social pressure.
Yeah.
Because
I posted a picture. I was like,
Did you? Yeah.
here's my friggin', farmer tan.
Yeah.
And do you guys like me yet? That was what I also put.
I am scared of side effects, but not the ones that I'm going to get a blood clot. I'm like, no, I just don't want to feel sick after I get it. Because
I mean, the blood clot is real for AstraZeneca.
It is.
That's a very real thing.
Yeah, AstraZeneca's been canceled.
People in my family and friends have gotten sick. Not horribly sick.
You do get sick.
Fevery, and you feel it. And so to me, I'm like, well, when is a convenient time for me to feel like junk for a few days?
Totally.
So I'm like, probably the end of June, I'll go and get it.
That's so funny. You have to plan when you want to feel
when
sick.
you're going to be sick. I know.
It is the truth. I had it. It didn't last too long for me though. The side effects, but it does kind of mess up your arm, and I don't know how much of that is just a needle going in your arm versus
just a needle.
What I do resent significantly is government coercion. Did you guys watch that press conference with Kenny on last Wednesday?
No. I can't watch these.
I get it. It's a complicated situation, but when they're like, we want Alberta to be open, we want it to be wide open, and we can do it, guys. The stampede is going to happen. We can have all restrictions gone by stampede, but you know how we're going to do it? You have to go get vaccinated. And so what that does is it pits us against each other. So if we still have restrictions because the numbers are still high, then what are we going to do? We're going to start pointing fingers at each other and be like, Cindy, go get vaccinated. You're the reason that I couldn't have a wedding this summer.
If I can't go to the rodeo in July,
then it's
Cindy's fault.
Then I will form a mob.
And that's what I don't like, is I'm like, it should be your choice whether you want to do this or not.
Oh,
but
it is
I
your
also
choice.
see the other side
It's
of it.
your
where
choice
it's like,
to ruin it for everyone else.
I see that side of it. I see both sides of the argument. I don't appreciate being manipulated, and I feel like there's a lot of manipulation there.
I think it's all comes down to when you put I get that the government is in a position where they have to think about the public health at large, and as part of that they think okay, we got to close things down, but I also think that why don't we take it from a stance of everything's going to be open, but you take responsibility for yourself. And if you are at high risk, get a vaccine, stay away from everybody because there's a dirty, dangerous, vaccine or virus out here. What?
Oh, did you not hear about
A
it?
dirty...
You didn't hear about COVID?
No, the way he said it, there's a dirty vaccine.
There's a dirty... Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me just be clear. There's a dirty, dangerous virus. The vaccine is fighting it for you. And people like Cindy...
Yeah. We're ruining it for everyone. I'm the reason why you couldn't get married this summer.
No, I don't know. I do see it from... Because if someone who is a staunch pro-vaxxer, they see it as What do you don't like seatbelts? What, you're anti-seatbelt? What's wrong with you? You know?
I don't
Yeah.
care for seatbelts, actually.
They're uncomfortable.
I think this is one common misconception with the vaccine is people think that they've just thrown this together in the past year, but the truth is that they've been building this vaccine.
Oh, is that true?
For decades.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, because it's any coronavirus, so like SARS for example, right? They
Yeah.
fall under this same umbrella, this same family.
Right.
So all they're doing is altering existing vaccines. So they're not starting from scratch. So for people that are like, this is not tested and proven and blah blah blah, I think that that's a weaker stance to have.
Just checking. We're good. Don't
Do
mind me.
you think I'm not paying attention here?
I don't know. I think
No, you're paying attention.
I waffle.
Yeah,
I go back and forth.
mRNA vaccines, they're great. Wonderful technology.
I go back and forth, but at the end of the day, I don't want to be a person that people are like, I can't talk to her about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person. I want people to be able to talk to me either way. I want to be balanced.
I mean, I want to feel that way about all of the divisive topics. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm so tired of being...
Abortion, go.
Gotta go. I like jump out the window. Yeah, all of the topics. I know that people feel passionately about things. This is where I feel like humor.
Yeah, helps.
Let's have a sense of humor. Let's joke a little bit. Let's take some tension out of the air.
Let's make light of everything.
Let's
Yeah.
make a joke about serious things.
But I think
Yeah,
what you
yeah.
do when you do that is that you don't presume to say what kind of a person is based on what their stance is on any
Yeah.
given issue. Because you can be a complex person. You
Yeah.
can be like super, super alt-right and praise Jesus and love
And
the idea of
pro-vax.
being able to have an abortion.
Yeah.
Those people exist, and
Totally.
it's okay that they
Yeah.
exist, and it doesn't make them one way or another. You can be a good person and have ideas that are different than another good person.
I know. I hate this
I
idea.
don't know about that.
You're the problem.
I hate this idea that we do have to be siloed into these, like, oh, this is how you feel about this.
Yeah.
Here's your starter pack for, the left side or the right
Yeah.
side, or like the filthy middle section of like, oh, you don't fit in a silo?
Well, that just means that
Get your ass in a
you're
silo.
weak-minded and you're a
Yeah.
coward and you don't want to pick a side, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, though, I think to go back to the bell curve thing we've been, bringing up all throughout, most people reside in this
In the
big
middle.
middle section of nuance. And I do feel I'm similarly put off by anyone who is extreme in their opinion on either side.
Yes.
But
But they're the most vocal. They're the ones that we hear the
They're
most.
the ones on the internet being like,
If you don't think this, then
whenever someone does like a Boolean logic thing on the internet, like if this then that, I'm always like, okay, I don't know if I don't know. I'm friends with this person who I think they were maybe I'm trying to remember how I know this person. I think they were baptized a few years ago, and then they started posting like so much anti-vax and like sort of stuff,
Yeah.
and to the point where like every one of his like associates, no one is defending him. He's just like vaccines are fake. This is the flu. Like he'll change his profile picture to be like a list of stats of like, years flu deaths over time, and how like in 2020 we had 0 flu deaths or something. And that, which is also something to be, it's like
There's something to think about.
I don't know how to explain it.
But then at the
Flu
same
took a vacation.
to come out and say COVID is fake or like it's the flu, things like
Yeah.
that. I think that negates a real fear that people have and real experience that people have losing people to this.
Totally.
And so if you come into, I don't know, my position is whatever you post on social media, if your intention is to be kind, then I think that you're going to be okay. I
What
think
if-
kindness just needs to be.
But also, a lot of people post with the intention of being informative. And what they're informing is, on one side or another of an argument that, you know what I mean? Like,
But there's a
someone else
way
may
to
disagree
there's a
with.
way to inform in a kind way, right? Like let's say you've seen somebody post something about anti-vaxxing and you're like, that is rough. Like, that's straight from the bowels of the Fox News newsroom. Sorry. But, you know, like, that's something that you're like, I'm not so sure about that. Instead of posting that and saying this is garbage or only stupid people believe this, I think it's more productive to say, hey, you know what? I saw somebody post this and it made me think, oh, I wonder what's the facts behind this. And so I did a bit more research, and here's what I found out. And then you can post the counterpoint, data that's the counterpoint, and say, here's something to think about when you read something like this. Like, if you do it in a vulnerable, kind way where you're saying, I had questions, or I wasn't sure, or this kind of made me feel worried, and this is what I did. Like, it's all about the approach. If you're vulnerable and if you're trying to be kind, I think that it brings those defenses down so people are willing to listen and to really engage in productive conversation.
Yeah, I agree. You have to be open-minded. You have to be willing to have your mind changed, you know, alter your position when you're confronted with new facts. Be willing to, you know, adjust. Be
Yes.
adjustable.
Yeah.
Be convertible.
Flexible.
Yeah. Should we get back to aliens, though?
Yeah, let's get back to something fun.
I was going to say, do we have emails?
Let's check. I guess we do have
We have
one
a
email that
we have a
to
duty
read.
to our listeners.
No, you should. That's a good thing. And it
Our
might,
two listeners. Our two listeners that send us emails.
Okay, let's take
And they
a
give us
look
guff when we
at
don't
the
read them.
emails.
And they say, hey,
have you had them on the show?
oh yeah.
Oh, dag, yo.
Regretfully.
We've been talking for a long time.
Yeah, we can wrap this up here. If you need to get going. Where did it go? Is this it?
See, this is why we never read it, because we always lose it.
I think he said this before. I don't even know. So this is from Andrew Cacao. He says, read this on air, cowards.
Isn't that how he starts every
Oh, I haven't-
email?
Yeah, and so like he
Andrew
said that
Cacao.
before, and I thought, oh, I read this. So that's why I missed it. But anyway, he says, you guys are talking about MMA. So now,
Oh,
Wait. We have read this.
did we read
one.
this?
Hold on. Let me screen this real quick.
yeah, let's talk about the Floyd Mayweather-Logan Paul fight on Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We read this one already.
Yeah, okay, but then we read it. Then go listen to all our episodes, and you know, although
So there's got to be a later one.
no, this is it.
That guy.
This is it. He didn't send anything else. Spotify, YouTube, Spotify, Podcorn, SoundCloud. Oh, that's another thing we should discuss also. This is Alex Williams. It's a new one
Oh.
from him.
Oh, there you go.
He says, hello, Star Wars. Bad Batch is all right. I think it'll be something I'll have to judge from the end. Good point. Bad Batch has started strong. It's been twiddling a little bit in the mid-season.
Oh, last episode I thought was great.
I mean, they're fun episodes, but it feels less like an epic Star Wars event and more like regular episodes of Clone Wars, sort of the middling episodes of Clone Wars.
That's exactly what it is.
And it is what it is. But he
Thank
goes on to say,
Thank you for that, Alex.
but boy, is it better than those 4 episodes in the middle of season 7 of Clone Wars. And he's talking about the Martez sisters, isn't
I think, or is he talking about the Bad Batch episodes?
Wait, are
That was
they
at the
ones
beginning.
that you called the Rodriguez sisters last week?
The Diaz sisters.
Diaz sisters.
And we're like, we're so racist. We're so sorry.
You know, George Lucas is the racist one.
Yeah.
Let's pin this on George.
Yeah. He goes on to say, Lord of the Rings. Definitely going to watch Amazon series. I just got all the Lord of the Rings stuff in audiobook form. So, yeah. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah. Now, there's a guy that listened to our episode,
Yeah.
and he's like, here's some feedback on it.
Here's a nice little comment.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
He's
I take
good people.
back all the rude things I've said about
I've
you.
ever said.
on
Alex
the
is solid.
podcast.
I knew Alex when he was in seminary. 'cause
You know, he's out now.
I know.
Of the
Yeah.
church.
I did know that.
Yeah. You're still talking to him?
Interesting.
Not sincerely. Everything I say is just coated in sarcasm and disdain.
You're just like, hello, Alex.
Hello, Brother Williams.
Yeah.
And you're like, hope you're doing well, and your fingers are crossed behind your back.
Not.
I knew him when he was in seminary because I started working in the South when he was in seminary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm dating myself. I'm super old.
Could you see it in him back then?
No. What
You're like, look at
do you know
this
what?
dark
He-
There's a little
countenance.
apostate.
He is such a unique, special person. Like he was the one that came and struck up conversation with me. Like I'm the adult. I should be the one who's going and striking up conversation with the teenagers, but I was so intimidated. And he came, he'd be like, "Hey, Sister Russell," and he just talked to me, and I was like, this is a cool kid. And he was so motivated, and he had all these ideas, and like from the whole time that I've known him, he's just been an outlier. He is a critical thinker. He's somebody who he's not intimidated. He's not intimidated by things being difficult or different. He'll do it. So
Yeah.
It's a real
He's a cool
tragedy
kid.
we lost him.
Lost him to Satan. Lost him to the big devil.
He's in the grips of the adversary now, but
The adversary has him. His soul is
in
lost.
his chains. It started with the little ones.
like
Now-
Jacob Marley.
He's got the big heavy chains on him.
There will be an empty chair in the celestial kingdom with his
Oh
name
my
on it.
gosh.
Hey, unless
Unless
he's redeemed.
and he will be redeemed. I think he's coming back. And by the way, to whoever
That's the official stance of this podcast.
to whoever just burst into tears because I said that, I'm sorry, and that's obviously not going to happen. You don't think God is going? That's one of the things about like God that I'm like, I think the church is kind of off on that. I think he's so much more forgiving.
I agree.
think he's so much more.
We downplay
You know
the
what I mean?
mercy
I think we do.
because we're like, well, we don't want people to go out and go crazy. But I'm
Yeah.
like, guess what?
We have
We're
to-
human
We have to
beings.
threaten them with empty chairs. Like,
Yeah.
no, you don't.
No,
I
you
think we're all doing the best
Also,
that we can do.
who's sitting in the celestial kingdom?
We're flying, baby.
Chairs are a mortal experience.
We're teleporting.
I remember I had a primary teacher tell me that in the Celestial Kingdom you could have whatever pet you wanted. And I was like, sold.
Yo, I've never even thought about that.
Right? She's like, if you want a dinosaur, you can have a
I want a
dinosaur. And I'm like,
dragon.
hell yeah, I
wanna
want a
fight
dinosaur.
Dragons.
I want to
a
be
bear.
a
I want
primary
a huge
teacher
bear that
just
I can
so I
have
can,
naps
like,
with.
Yeah.
promise children so many
Everything.
things.
You made Jesus cry when you did that.
Yeah.
Just completely destroy their minds.
eat ketchup, Jesus cries.
You're like, oh, you screw up a kid for his whole life.
Exactly.
He's like, I can't have. Everywhere he goes, like, want some ketchup? He's like, I don't.
We'll have
I
a
don't do ketchup.
shoebox full of doll heads under his bed by the time he's 8 years old.
A shoebox of doll heads.
I don't even think men are allowed to be primary teachers anyway. So
For the best.
Not without a woman present.
Not without a council
Actually,
of women.
That is
present.
one thing that I do credit the
Just
church is
taking
that they're
notes.
getting more serious about that, about like with youth classes having 2 adults present. That is long overdue.
That is very good.
And the fact that you like youth interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah. Tell us more about that. Do you know about that? As far as like youth interviews and asking about masturbation and
I know
pornography
that
and stuff.
that parents can be there, or I know that basically it's not the same as it used to be, where it's like you have to go and tell your bishop all your deep dark stuff. Like there's more of an allowance there. That's like there needs to be a level of appropriateness
of
here.
course, yeah.
That wasn't there before. And
Yeah.
this is my bugaboo about the church is.
Jesus is like, oh, let's hear this one.
And this is something I'm working on. I'm working on this.
Okay.
I struggle with the whole concept of bishops because it's such a subjective thing.
Yeah.
You know, you have one bishop who thinks, that's not a big deal. And then another bishop who's like, give me your temple recommend right now.
Yeah.
When that is the system, it's flawed.
Yeah.
It's not doctrinal. And I'm not on board with it. So
And it's all dudes.
and it's all dudes.
If we had a lady bishop, I would love
She
to talk.
would get it done.
I would love to talk to a lady
Yeah.
bishop. I would talk to a lady bishop all day long.
Did you know that they called female
nah.
Lyndon's just like sitting here gritting. He's just like this.
Uh,
And now,
I'll let you guys have your opinions.
for now, until I'm bishop.
Hope I'm not in your
No.
ward. They called
They
female.
would never let me be a bishop.
Re-
Can you
would you s-
imagine?
I would love to be in that ward. Can I be your
Oh, I'd make you
executive
Clerk?
secretary?
no first
clerk.
counselor,
Hell yeah.
and then you would be my shadow second counselor.
Ooh yeah.
I would just put up some idiot, some airhead as second counselor, and I'd give him all these fake assignments.
Yeah.
But you would
Like
be
the vice president.
you would be my shadow counselor.
Shadow counselor
Um,
Cindy Russell.
I'll take it. I'll take it. They called
And we will
women
give you the secret shadow priesthood.
area authorities or like Relief Society area authorities in Europe.
We all like have hoods on.
I'll come on another time and I'll
And
tell you my
masks.
thoughts on how motherhood is an office of the priesthood.
Yeah, those right now.
Just go ahead.
I feel like I'm
We're already
taking
here.
too long.
No.
You trying to get out of here?
I'm not in a hurry to end this. I don't know about you guys.
I believe
Like you're like, oh, you guys always record for like 2 hours.
you
I'm like, we always
do.
record for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
We're just getting warmed
Plus,
up.
we got to talk about your dating, your romance life.
So I think that I've done a lot of studying about women in the scriptures, Heavenly Mother. That's kind of become my pet project. for
Probably didn't
myself.
take too long. Not a lot of women. In
Not
scripture.
true. How many? Okay, little trivia here. How many women do you think are referenced in the
7.
scriptures? Honestly, in all the books of scripture.
Probably
All
7
5.
to 10.
Hold on. I'm counting them. 47.
What do you think?
It's going to be less than 10.
Over 600.
Really?
Yes.
By name?
Not.
I'm
I would-
embarrassed.
Not all of them. The majority are not by name, but a lot more than you think by name.
How many have names?
47.
I'll find that out for you. No, it's more than 47. I will find that out for you. So, anyways, I've been
Abish,
teaching.
Delilah,
I've been teaching.
Delilah was a
Soraya.
villain.
Soraya,
Who is that other villain lady?
Sarah,
Daughter Jacob.
the whore
The harlot one.
in the Book of Mormon.
Okay, this is such an important point.
It's-
Women are
sorry.
written in the scriptures to fill certain archetypes. There's mother figures. There's harlots.
What do you mean archetypes? This is just
Charac-
history.
Characters in the Bible is okay.
Characters.
Jordan Peterson.
Just kidding. So they fit archetypes. Women fit archetypes.
What? So, I hate that this has become my subject because I feel like, well, of course, a female institute teacher is going to want to teach about women in the scriptures.
Wait, you teach
So I avoided it.
institute?
I do. Did you really not know that?
They allow women to teach the institute.
A woman
A woman in the priesthood.
instructing young Latter-day Saint minds in the gospel?
Oh, I subvert the patriarchy left, right, and center.
Yes.
You got to rip me out of there.
Cindy for
No,
Bishop.
last time we talked, you were just you were putting your toe in the water,
No, yeah.
or they were putting their toe in your water. Hard to say,
Weird.
but you got the full-time gig.
No, I'm not.
You're
I'm not like a paid institute teacher. It's my calling, but I'm a paid institute employee.
So they
I do admin
kind of,
work.
it's a little wraparound.
Yeah, kind of.
Not a wraparound.
Right, because it's kind of they're never mind. Because
Anyways.
they would never want a woman teacher, so they have you on the payroll, and they let you instruct.
It's actually not allowed though.
No, it is allowed.
It is?
Yes. There's female coordinators. There's female. Yeah.
Are there female institute directors?
Why aren't you?
Why aren't
Because
you
they
the
don't
institute
have enough,
director?
They don't have enough
Cash.
full-time positions. Like with everything, especially with everything becoming more like we teach online classes where we have students from Africa and students from like all around the world, and so the more that happens, the fewer positions there will be
What do you?
because they don't need as many.
Fewer.
Yeah.
They should hire
Technology,
more.
always taking
Yeah,
jobs.
taking
I hear they
jobs.
have a lot of money in the bank.
I hear,
Maybe
yeah.
they could throw.
I hear
some
they could
your
probably
way.
afford to hire you.
Well, that was the whole reason I started with the church. Is I was like, oh, I can become a teacher. 8 years later,
Yeah.
You're a shadow teacher.
I am teaching, and that's how I choose to look at it. You know, it's not the same as my counterparts, but I get to teach, which is cool.
That is cool.
So, anyways, women in the scriptures, Heavenly Mother. What I believe, this is the doctrine according to Cindy. I honestly believe that women are born with the office of the priesthood of motherhood. It's not something that you're endowed with. It's not something that you're given over the course of your lifetime, and it's not manifest when you have children. Because you are a daughter of Heavenly Mother, you are born with motherhood, which is an office of the priesthood.
Is there any like evidence? Do you have any scriptures or anything? And I'm not challenging
No,
you.
no.
I'm
That's
just-
such patriarchal
I'm
talk.
I'm genuinely
Do you have
curious.
Would you ask a man that question?
I
Troy?
definitely would.
Do you have any authoritative source
No,
for
you're
that?
right. I
So-
would just accept a man if he was like, all men have what's called super priesthood.
That you
The
unlock.
real one.
And-
You have priesthood light. We have priesthood full calorie.
Yeah. And I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
No, the whole reason I got onto this was the title "Mother in Israel," which only shows up in the scriptures a handful of times. Deborah, prophetess, mother in Israel.
Something about purple. A lady of purple. A seller of purple. Am I crazy?
Don't
I
listen
don't-
to Troy's never read the scriptures.
Anyways, so,
Ignore him.
so I was
I've never read the scriptures. I just guess.
purple. It's really green there.
No, Jesus encounters a woman in the scriptures and she sells purple things. I'm right.
Okay.
She's a seller of purple.
She
All right.
sells dye.
I'm talking Old Testament. I'm talking super Old
All
Testament.
right.
Like, anyways.
I'm going to find it.
So, I love the story of Deborah because she was a judge. She was a judge over Israel, which is super cool because
Yeah.
not only were they they were spiritual leaders and societal leaders. And then you read about these other prophetesses. There was one named Huldah, and she was the prophetess that. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
What does she do?
You know who was my favorite?
She was Go ahead.
Ruth. That's what I'm going to add to this.
Okay. So
Huldah?
Huldah she was a scriptorian, and so
Kinda
when they
like
were
you.
when they were rebuilding Solomon's temple, so this is Josiah, they're rebuilding Solomon's temple. They found this book of scripture, and they were like, "Say what? What's this?" And so they took it to her to read and to interpret. And basically, what it said was, people speculate that it was from Deuteronomy, because basically what it said was, this whole show is coming to an end. Like, Israel, you're hooped. You're going to get scattered and Jerusalem's going to be destroyed. But she was called a prophetess, and she was the one that they went to, and she was the one that revealed that or interpreted that. What are you looking up there, buddy?
And
Your purple woman?
And a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple. Of the city of Thyatira, which worshipped God, her dozen.
Actually, did you know that women
Sold purple.
Women bankrolled the ministry of Christ? It was
I
women.
sell purple.
There you go.
It's a hot
Lydia.
commodity.
Thanks, Lydia.
Purple.
But so, anyways,
That's Acts 16, verse 14, by the way.
she was a counterpart of Paul, wasn't she? Anyways.
I don't know.
So,
That's all I know. She sold purple.
So, Mother in Israel, I came across this phrase, and then I came across it again when I was reading about some of the women in the Restoration. So, like Lucy Mack Smith and Eliza Snow.
Okay, I was worried you were going to say Emma Smith, and I was like,
Okay, no.
forget about her.
Oh, we're not going down that road. I am so pro Emma Smith, and I'll fight anybody who isn't.
You'll go to Helda to save her.
I would.
Because that's where she is.
One of the only people that's been assured salvation. Anyways.
By a polygamist.
Not by Brigham Young.
You guys are the worst. Okay. Anyways, so I see this title prop pop up, Mother in Israel. And now the interesting thing was with Lucy Mack Smith, they presented to a congregation that she be named a mother in Israel, and it was like sustained. And so I'm like, well, what's this about? And so the more I read about it, the more and there's so little written about this. But what I glean from it is this is a position of leadership that comes to the priesthood for women, Mother in Israel. And it's a designation that isn't reserved to women with children. There's no mention of Deborah having children. Eliza Snow, who was a mother in Israel, she didn't have any kids. So it's more about being a disciple of Christ in your Zion community, wherever you're at, and it's fulfilling your role as a woman.
That's you.
Well,
You're a
I
mother in Israel.
aspire
Is it
to that.
specifically for women that don't have children?
No, it's not. And so the more reading I did about it, it pops up in people's patriarchal blessings.
Now, when we talk, for those who may be watching this and are a bit curious about the term mother in Israel, I know that on the surface it may sound like literally a mother in the, political state of Israel. What we're talking about is, maybe speak to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, what does it mean to be a mother in
So
what is meant by Israel?
Israel.
in this
So when you're
case?
talking about Israel, you're talking about anywhere where the Lord has covenant people. So it can be a geographical location, it can be a spiritual location, just people who are in covenant through the priesthood with God is Israel. So when you're talking about Zion or Israel, sometimes it's more metaphorical or more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, it's certainly more
Symbolic, yeah.
abstract.
Abstract,
Yeah.
exactly. So to be a mother in Israel would sound like, okay, well, you're a mother and you're raising kids in Israel.
Like, there's lots of mothers in Israel, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
in physical, like in geographical
Right.
Israel, there are a lot of mothers
But
there.
what you mean is more in terms of like in the in the religious sense, in a religious
Yes.
sort of abstract, metaphorical sense.
I think that women reach their potential through this brand of motherhood, which is essentially realizing the power that you've been endowed with from your heavenly parents, it very much including Heavenly Mother, but it's you living up to that feminine divine that's in you.
Ooh, yeah.
I have some questions.
Oh, please.
What
yes.
are the roles and responsibilities of these mothers in Israel?
I'm glad you asked.
Thank you.
So their responsibility is to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. Essentially, is to serve, to teach, to lead, to nurture. It's all in there. Yeah, and I appreciate that because I feel like so much of what we're told to be as women ties back to this matriarchal, like, you're good with kids because you're a woman. And I'm like, but I'm not, though. I'm not good with kids. I'm good with, like, teenagers. I like to have fun with teenagers and hang out with teenagers, but kids, I'm so awkward around kids. It's
Here's Aunt Cindy.
no, I don't like. It's fun to be around babies up until toddlers, but by the time they hit about like 5 or 6, I'm like, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know how to relate to you. And then by the time they hit about 12 or 13, I'm like, yay, we can be friends again, because that's kind of where I reside.
I feel the
mentally.
same way, to be honest. Like, I don't, and I think that's just like, as a man, it's just the thing you do. You sort of like, your friend has a baby, they're a day old, you hold it, you take one picture, and then you see them again once they're, I don't know, 15. And you say, whoa, look at you.
You're knee-high to a grasshopper.
You really grew up, huh?
I think that people
Sprouting like weeds.
I hold you as a baby. That's what you say to them.
people mislabel, I think, teenagers. They're like, teenagers are jerks and they're blah blah. They're not. I think that they put on this.
Some of them are.
But they put on this exterior that's like, I'm tough. I know what I'm doing. I'm, like whatever. It's just this bravado. But when you get past that, you realize that there's still so much child in them.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
That they're
babies.
vulnerable and they're scared and
Little
they
babies.
want direction and they want help and they want to be able to talk about things. And if you can get to that place of trust with them, it's awesome.
That
where
is
you can
awesome.
mentor and you can just be a listening ear. That's what I love. I love that.
Because you teach teenagers
I did. I
kind
taught
of primarily,
seminary.
or
No, I taught seminary for a few years. I teach young adults now in institute, but just with, even with my nieces and nephews, I love having those talks with them and those relationships, and
yeah.
it's cool. My niece told me the other day, she's graduating high school. She graduated high school last month. She's in the States, and we were talking on Zoom about her plans for the fall and everything. She's like, well, actually I have something I need to tell you. And I was like, she's like, I'm going to go on a mission. And I just burst out crying.
Yeah.
Because it was just, I don't have my own kids. I won't have my own kids. So this is like the closest that I have to passing on things that are important to me. And she knows that that's something that would mean a lot to me.
And
so.
it did.
And it did. And I
It
just
does.
bawled. And I was like, I know you're going to do so well and you're going to be so happy. So
That's so awesome.
anyways,
That's a beautiful thing.
it is.
I feel like it's a nice note to sort of, sail off into the sunset on.
Yeah. You've taught us so much.
You really have.
And you've been like a mother in Israel to us
Aw.
Yeah.
in that you've so gently corrected so many terrible things we've said and done.
And propagated so many terrible things that have been done tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
And for that, we have to thank you.
Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I know that I kind of shoved myself into this, but
Oh, we love you. We love you.
aw.
And we love
Wedge yourself in.
chatting
Anytime.
with you. And as you are always welcome on the show.
Thanks, guys.
And yeah, that is what I have to say about that.
I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Would highly
Good.
recommend to anybody.
I officially declare you a mother of the Mission Stories podcast.
Yay! I love it.
That's
I'll
your
take it.
that's your new role.
New title.
And we're not going to sustain it because that's a little over the top.
Do I get a belated Mother's Day gift?
A full-size Twix bar.
Oh!
That's right. A full-size double Twix.
Double Twix.
You come on the show, you get double Twix bar.
Because life's a mission.
Bye.